Hi guys, it's Craig Nichols, the Crappie Cowboy. I'm your 2019 Crappie Masters National Champion. We're putting together some tips and techniques videos, and today we're going to talk about the 3 minnow rigs that I use on the tournament trail. When those fish get really tight to brush piles, and we have to do a lot of brush pile fishing, vertical fishing in the brush piles, this is a rig I like to use because I can get down in the brush and fish minnows the same way I fish jigs without hanging up. This is the minnow rig I use. I'm going to take a light wire hook, tie it to my main line with a polymer knot. Below that, I'm only going to go about 4 to 6 inches. The closer the better. Weight on your bell sinker kind of depends on the depth of water you're in and how much wind you're fighting. Today we've got a 3/8 ounce weight on, but when I rig this, I nose hook these minnows. I can drop this bait into the brush piles. It goes through the limbs, and if you feel it get hung up on a limb, you can just drop slack, it'll pull down, and you can that hook will continually turn, and you can work it through those limbs to work those brush piles from top to bottom to thoroughly work those brush piles over. That way you can get the fish in these piles from the top to the bottom. This is a rig that I use pretty much 90% of the time when I'm brush pile fishing and I have to go to live bait, because I can work this in and out with a lot of success and not have to retie very often. Okay, if we're going to be on we're chasing open water fish, fish on standing timber that we're pitching to, I want to change this rig up a little bit. Again, I'm going to go with a sliding bullet weight, and I'm either going to be tipping a jig with a minnow or a light wire hook. We're going to put the bobber stop on. We're going to put an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce bullet sinker on, and then we're going to put another bobber stop on. And what this allows us to do with the minnow fishing is, if those fish are really aggressive, they want that minnow moving a lot, you can slide this weight up away from that minnow and give that minnow more room to swim and move around. If they don't want to chase that minnow and they're in a really negative mood, you can slide this really close to this minnow and make that minnow stay pretty much stationary, just wiggling where he's not, the fish doesn't have to chase him. I use this technique when I'm pitching on standing timber, vertical fishing standing timber, or when I'm pitching to open water suspended fish. Another technique I like to use when those fish are really spooky is I'll get my casting rods out. I've got a special jig head that I get from Jinko. They're the only ones that make it right now. This jig head has a blade built onto the hook, and it constantly moves. You can blow on it, make it move. When this jig hits the water, this blade is turning. I use either 1/8 or 1/4 ounce on this jig. I nose hook these minnows, and I'm casting to these fish. And I just let that jig fall through the water, watching these fish on my live scope. As this jig's approaching, that propeller's turning, it's disturbing water, making noise. It gets those lethargic fish's attention, and I can bounce that jig as it gets to those fish, and 9 times out of 10 I can get a reaction strike on this with a minnow when they won't hit anything else. Now that's my 3 live bait techniques for tournament crappie fishing, and that's your tip of the day from the Crappie Cowboy. If you guys want to follow along with my page, we're on Instagram and Facebook. You can look me up for more tips and techniques, or just follow along what's going on in the tournament world. Look up the Crappie Cowboy on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.